So, there are many tensions in relationships that you may experience at different times. So, there are three dialectical tensions that I want to go over with you today. The first one is openness versus protection. Now, this is one that you may experience with your partner of wanting to be really open and also wanting to protect yourself and be private about some things. Now, this can be that some issues are just, not something that you want to share with anybody. It can be embarrassing. It could be that there's things about ourselves that we just want to keep private in general from everyone. And so when you're thinking about it in relationships, a lot of times in the beginning, we talk about how there's these really long talks in relationships and the get to know you stage. This is probably when we are most on the spectrum of being really open in our relationships. There's also the end of the spectrum of maybe you just discuss less because you figure that they know you already, or you may just feel like there's something where they violated your trust, so you may feel like you need to be more protected. Maybe you said something intimately between the two of you and then they revealed it in public. And so there could be different trust violations that go into this of why that tension might arise. But I want you to think about in your relationships, how much do you feel this tension between wanting to be really open and honest with your partner and wanting to hide some things? We might also feel this during transitions of when do we actually express that we love the person or want to go further in the relationship. So these may also be certain topics that you might be open or closed about. So that can also be something to think about with dialectical tensions. Let's get to the next one. So, autonomy versus connection. So, in our own lives, when you're single, you are the most individual that you can be. And this means that you don't have to maybe call up and ask the person, hey, I'm going to be late for dinner. Do you want anything? Are you okay with that? All of those kind of things are how we're autonomous and individualistic when we're single, but we also have some of that in our relationships. So you want to still keep some of your individual identity. You don't want to start to become those couples that their names just meld with each other, or sometimes you do want that. Maybe just making that connection is really important for you. And you may also feel it varies in different points in your relationship. Again, in the beginning of our relationship, a lot of times is when we want to increase that amount of connection. And so we might really be pushing for that in our relationships. And we might be spending extra time with our partner and less time with our friends. Those kind of things that happen that sometimes can make your friends feel slighted. A natural part of relationships that you might want to think about. And then also, you might think about the more you're together, the more connected maybe you become. And you start to integrate that your friends are their friends and their friends are your friends. Maybe you do a lot of activities. Maybe you even have a routine that you do together. Now, this amount of connection in your daily lives and how integral they are into your social system can feel really good at times. But you might also feel, hey, I'm losing a part of my identity. I'm feeling a little bit like I want to start doing a new activity. Hey, I want some time apart. Hey, I want to just spend time with my girls, or I want to spend time with my guys, or just my people. So, this might be something that you think about in your relationships, and certain things can bring it up again that can cause this tension to arise, but it can be these ebbs and flows in every relationship. So just thinking about this what stage it comes in relationships, and just because you're starting to move towards a more autonomous stage does not mean that you'll eventually become single again. It may be that you become autonomous for a while, reclaim your identity, find maybe nights of the week that you like to reclaim that identity and do certain actions. Or it might be that, you're going through a period of time that you want to be very individualistic and different things like that in your relationship. So, just something to think about. The last one is novelty and predictability. There's a certain amount that we like to be able to predict our partner's action. We don't want to wonder if they're going to come home at night, maybe. That might be something that would make you feel like they're really unpredictable and you're really not in a relationship if you don't even know that. Or some people might be okay with a lot of flexibility in their relationship. And so you might want to think about how much predictability do you like in your relationships? Do you like set routines? Do you like to watch shows together? You know that you're waiting for them to come home before you start that show. Now, too much predictability ends up being really boring in relationships, and you end up trying to, tell the future and predict too much about your partner. And so this can make it so that you start to lose your desire for them because they're so predictable, you don't find them fascinating anymore. On the other hand, if you find that there's too much novelty in your relationship and you never know what to expect, it can feel like a real rush in the beginning. And there's a lot of novelty in the beginning of relationships because you don't know your partner that well. But eventually, this can feel really chaotic and unstable in a long term relationship. So, I want you to think about in your relationship how much novelty do you want and how much predictability do you want, and how do you ensure these in your relationship? So, those are three types of dialectical tensions. Again, these are not supposed to be that one end of the spectrum is better than the other or more committed than the other. These are ebbs and flows throughout relationships and how you view certain tensions that might arise. So, something to think about.